Radio FM 88 Australia on a sunshine day here in Brisbane, Queensland, Australia. Today is our show where we go broadcasting 7 o'clock Florida time on the United States. It's my co-host Elisa, who's sitting right at the very top of the totem pole, and I'm going to hand it back to Elisa. Okay, it's a good morning. It's a good evening.
Hello. Yes. Good evening and good morning if you're listening from Australia. I know we have a lot of Australian listeners as well. So hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. I am so grateful for your presence. I am so excited to introduce you to a friend of mine, Lowell Johnson. Lowell and I go back to, I think, 2020. Yeah. And so we met at a retreat and he was one of the presenters and he was presenting about his journey into Telos, or inner earth, below Mount Shasta. And I, thought, oh my God, I got to have him on. We definitely have to catch up. It's been a while. So Lowell, thank you for coming in such short notice.
That's just the way things knit together, aren't they? The universe made this happen like it was supposed to, and so I'm delighted to do it when I do. But as I was telling you a little bit ago in the green room, that I've stepped back from this type of broadcasting. I didn't think that I was that interesting a guy in the first place, that I had something that you absolutely had to hear all the time. And then I started to have these extraordinary experiences. And those I thought everybody needed to know about. Over the last few years, you understand then, while this plays out, that as much as that's what I want for you all, most of you aren't ready to hear that. Most of you aren't open enough to even accept the ideas of multidimensional experiences, but they're happening all around you, and it's likely they're happening with you. So I'll leave it there. I would love to, if you want me to cover Telos, we can, but there's so much more than that. That Telos, wonderful as it is just one fragment of the crazy shit that's happened to me over the last 6 years. And so it's more important that we get people in tune with multidimensionality, and that Telos was just one of those things. Because the following year, I had experiences with light beings that was caught in photographs on more than one occasion. So my message to the rest of you is that if you are inclined with any of these and you want this kind of contact, I'm here to tell you I'm as human as the rest of you. It's just my head is set where it needs to be. I can achieve the proper meditative state. I can get there. But if I can, so can you.
Absolutely beautiful. And so, Lowell, what I do want to do for sure is to make sure that people know who you are. What was your background? Were you born having these abilities, or, as I already know, were you a normal guy, because that's a lot of the audience that sometimes we'll have here is our people that are normal people that all of a sudden are finding themselves with these multi-dimensional experiences, and they're lost in space. They're like, what just happened? So just tell us real quick, because this is going to be a long one. I can already feel it.
And it can be, that's fine.
Yeah. So first is just real quick your background, what it was, what you were doing, what happened, and just a very short 5-minute summary of Telos and exactly what happened, because
we'll give it a shot.
That was your launching pad. So I think it's important to have it, even if it's as a background. That was definitely the launching pad for this whole multidimensionality. So
I was a regular guy like everybody else. I was I managed hospitality for most of my life, although there was a 10-year period in there where I had an IT career in there as well. But in answer to who that was, I've had enough time to sit with myself over the last few years. I see different answers to where I was in this incarnation, if you want to see it from that perspective. And now that I understood what happened along my life and I can see that timeline, oh, I see. No, I didn't come into this incarnation really with a need for a mother or a father, because my mother left the scene when I was 4 and my dad was still young. Anyway, I grew up relatively independently, but I was always pretty sharp, pretty quick. I learned things fast. I was relatively, athletic. I liked playing hockey all my life, and just things came easy to me. I didn't seek out leadership, but it just found me, and that's kind of the way my life drew. After I ran, well, let's get to 2015, because here's where things change. I had a TIA. It's a mini stroke. And it's said that, when people begin to have this awareness kind of crop up, it's usually triggered by some physical thing like that. I don't know that I would call that an NDE. I wouldn't. But it was the turning point, because from that point on, my life changed. One of the things that my surgeon had recommended as therapy was meditation. And I'd always wanted to learn how to meditate. Took me a few months to, kind of nail one down. And I ended up being attracted to transcendental meditation, TM. And after that 4-day training, in my mind, how I benefited that in just that short amount of time, I thought I was going to be a TM trainer, because I thought everyone needs to know what this is about. And so once I got into this meditative state of mind, well, then the universe was going to show me things. And so a couple of years, that was in 2016, 2 years later, I was curious about any way to get to spirit. And there'd been a lot of discussions about ayahuasca journeys. And so I did a lot of research, and my son had friends that had been through this type of thing. So they pointed me in the right direction, and I went to have my own ayahuasca journeys. And it's an interesting thing. It's absolutely not for everyone. It's definitely not recreational. But my intent going into it is that if there is a way for me to touch spirit with this mechanism, that's what my intention was. The other people in the room had a variety of traumas that they were there to deal with. And Mother Ayahuasca is wonderful for that. Absolutely. That was not what I went there for. But I got what I needed to get out of that. And there were phrases that were uttered during those sessions that came to light later in life that weren't uttered anywhere else than that. So I understand the connection that was made. So then, and when we got to 2019, I was still doing some hospitality consulting. I happened to be in Baton Rouge, and lots of the rabbit holes I was going down just spread more rabbit holes that I had curiosities about. And I just needed, in my little Capricorn way, to satisfy what I needed to know about these things that I need to know for myself. I can't hear from somebody else. I need to know. And so I get like 18 months into this project, and I've got no problems with my employer. I'm the director of hospitality, so I run all the non-gaming operations in this place, and we're about to take a riverboat-based casino and bring it land-based. I love doing those kind of projects. Well, in about June of the last year, I got this urge in me that says, you're supposed to be doing something else. Now I'm having a great time. I'm making 6 figures a year and a bonus, and had, pretty much the world by the tail. I enjoyed my life, but I just had these other curiosities that I needed to satisfy. And I know if I began to speak about the things, that I would find myself in the human resource office pretty quickly. Yes, that's the kind of things you talk about at work, Lowell. So when we got to December, I turned in my resignation. I didn't know what I was going to do after that. I didn't know where revenue was going to. I didn't know any of that. All I know was I had things I needed to get answered, and I was going to go find answers. This was my goal at the time was to leave Louisiana. I was going to buy a house in Las Vegas. I'd already put money down on one. And because the consulting I was doing were for companies out of there anyway. Heck, I can live anywhere because they're just going to send me where I need to go. But anyway, all of that fell through because it was supposed to. My guides were telling me don't close on the house. And when I didn't, a week after that, while I was visiting my son back in California, COVID, boom. Now we're all locked down for a while. It's February. No one's going anywhere. And so by the time, we all get used to that lifestyle, we get closer to June and now things are beginning to relax. I just need to get out of the house. Thank God I had a place to stay while I was there, but I was sharing it with my son and his roommates. I just needed to get out. I wanted to go to national parks by myself, and so I had intended to head to the Southwest, and that's when you started to begin to hear that maybe the national parks weren't even open. And then the very next thought in my head, wherever it came from, was Mount Shasta. Well, from where I was, it was like a 4-hour drive. I could get there in the morning or an afternoon from Santa Rosa. And so that's what I decided I was going to do. My intention was I was going to go for maybe 2 weeks, at least one, check it out. And then my son, who wasn't doing anything else either, was either going to join me in Tahoe or Reno, and we were just going to spend some more time outside. Well, by week one, the end of week one in Shasta, I hadn't seen all the things I wanted to see. And so I reached out to my son. I said, I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to stay a little bit longer. So to make a long story short of this, I stayed for 5 weeks. And I only left because I had to be back in Santa Rosa. But I got connected to something there on my own, rarely going to the same place twice except the water features. I didn't want to leave. And so it was the last weekend that I was invited in to see Telos. Now, looking back at it, I could tell that when I got to the mountain, that my vibration was high enough to appreciate what was around me. By the end of the month, it was high enough to match their experiences. So that was how any of that even happened. I take a breath.
Yeah. So once you were did the whole week, the 4 weeks of whatever, I know that you went up there and you were meditating, right? And that's when it happened.
Yeah. I had been drawn, not that I knew anything about energetic things at the time, but that's what I seemed to be drawn to. These areas that, gave off emitted some energy, and those were the things that drew my attention. So on this particular hike this day, I had seen it from over, you've driven to the top of where Old Ski Bowl Trail. Well, where, of course, I took you there. You've been to that place. So when I was sitting at one of the picnic tables on that particular day, I looked off in the distance, and on Shastina, which is the mountain just to the left, it looked like there could have been cave openings. And that was what I was going to look at. They weren't cave openings. But anyway, when I started to move, I would find these areas that just had they radiated an energy that just drew you to them. They would be marked like a tree with some rocks around it, with greenery around it that shouldn't be any greenery around it because an avalanche went through here 20 years ago and wiped everything out. Why were those things there? So on this particular day, I'd seen 2 of those areas as I was gaining elevation. And then the third one, when I got up to the second one I'd found, was actually, it looked like it was right against the mountain. There were 3 boulders that came out and kind of formed this little area, enough that I could get into it. And so I sat in there. When I got in it, I was looking off in the distance, and way over there, you can see the parking lot and all the little people over there. Nobody was hiking in the area I went to. So I thought, I anchor my light there first. That's kind of my routine when I go onto the mountain. Here's where my exchange takes place. And then I sat down for a while. I had my back against the mountain. I was having some water and I was having some grapes and I was listening to music in my ear pods. And all of a sudden, once I had finished my snacking, I'd put all that stuff back into the bag, and then, the music stopped. I didn't understand. So, I always carry my iPod, my phone in my back pocket. So I leaned forward to pull it out. And when I did, there's no power. And now I feel a breeze from behind me. And when I turn around, there's a hole behind me where I'd just been leaning up against the mountain. And when I stand up, I can see that it's dark, but there's like a little rise where I am, and then it goes down. And as my eyes were adjusting to the light conditions, it looked like there was somebody down there. And that's when I heard someone say, "Do you wish to see Telos?"
Oh. I said yes.
I said yes. When I got to Alex, is who it turned out to be. It's what he told me I could call him. From where I was standing, I thought it was an adult-sized male about my size. But when I got close enough to see who he really was, this guy was 8 feet and change, at least a head taller than I was, and dressed very similar to the way that Elisa was talking about the Lemurian she ran into in Shasta. Kind of there, it wasn't, I don't know, it's not a cloak, I can't call it that, but it was white on this day.
Like a robe, like a white robe.
Well,
kind of,
yeah,
like linen, like
kind of. It's not really anything I was familiar with, and not thing you'd see on the street, but he had some ribbons on it. I didn't know whether this was indicative of a rank he held or some Lemurian bling. I will find out later the reason why they were in white attire that day, from something that Diane Robbins had produced, that there is a capstone on top of the pyramid in the middle of the city, and it changes color. That color affects the aura of what takes place in the area that day. And it was Sunday. Sundays are white. So that's why what I saw them, and it was white, and I didn't understand that until months later. He was flawless, like whatever skin they have. And I can only equate that here is what our form is going to look like when it's more crystalline based and not carbon based. The ones that last for thousands of years as opposed to the ones that last for 80 to 100 years. Just flawless. So he told me to walk with him. I'm just kind of breezing through the story because there's lots of other things to talk about. And he was advising me about the nature of Telos. What's there, how many levels it had, who was there, what was on each level. And then he was going to take me on a little tour. By the time we got to the bottom of this incline, I still hadn't made out, how did I get in here and how did any of this work? And because when I turned around at the last minute to look behind me where I'd come from, there was no light back there at all. So, okay, now I understand the idea of portals and vortexes. I get that because something opened up and let me inside here, but I'm boots on the ground. So he guides me to this craft that does like a hoverboard, but you sit on it. It's like 6x6. There's like a couple of chairs on the top of it, no console. And as soon as my butt hit it, this thing elevated and off we went. There were a series of, we came through what I came to understand was a lava tube. That's how we got in here, and there were other lava tubes that left this area. Well, we went through one, and it eventually dead-end into the main level. Now, when we got there and came into that space, he took us up so you could get the cityscape view of it. So the city is circular in, orientation. I looked up because it's like daylight. It's like the sun is bright and it's illuminating everything. I can't see whatever the top of this space is supposed to be. And I don't see a sun. So I don't understand where the light's coming from either. Later, I will understand that's infused into the crystals that are all over the city, and they're geared to, light, just like a circadian clock in the same way. Took me to the third level to show me their hydroponic gardens, which blew me away. I've never seen anything like it. There was very little dirt, but here, this was allegedly fed everybody here. Now, from what I understood, when Lemuria sank and the preparations to move beneath Mount Shasta were made, the provisions there were made for 2 million. Well, 25,000, as we understand it, actually made it. So they have propagated since then. What I understood, a few years back is that there were like 1.2 million Lemurians in some form on the planet right now.
Oh, wow.
Yes, well, there's been an update since then. And so again, I didn't understand how could this amount of food, even if it perpetuated quickly, feed all those people? Well, that's when somebody had to remind me, Lowell, they don't eat because their bodies require nourishment. They eat because they like to eat. Their bodies are composed of something entirely different. So it's not like they eat 3 squares a day and they have to produce all that for everybody as well. Now, that update I was telling you about, as of 2 years ago, there are 4.8 million Lemurians on the planet.
Wow.
Yes.
Are they all underground?
No.
Okay.
No. And I will reveal a secret that I've known for a long time now, and I didn't really talk about it at all. When I met Kumu, we'll use Kumu as her name, the hybrid I met the year after my Shasta experience, she had been part of a process that assisted in helping most of the Lemurians migrate off the planet. That would have been, it was in 2020 when that happened. So it would have been 11 years before that. There was so much chaos going on the surface that was beginning to affect inner Earth realms.
Wow.
And they were going to protect their frequency. And so off they went. There's still a core of them here, but the entire population is waiting nearby for us to get our shit together.
Wow. Okay. So, so how did that whole story end? How did the Telos story end?
Well, toward the end, I got to sit with the council, members of the council, not the council. I went to the council chambers, which was an interesting building and had some cool energetics. As soon as you walked into this space, I want you to think of the best hug you've ever had. And that sensation was just kind of impressing itself on my heart core the entire time I was in this space. So if you didn't feel love before you came in here, oh my God, you were like bathed in this room.
Oh, wow.
There was a round table with 13 chairs around it. This is the council chambers. And so while Alex and I had entered the room, 4 more people entered from another place. And 5. Adama, who I assumed was Adama based on photographs I've seen, they do not do this guy justice, but that's who it turned out to be.
And
then
so
there
for
were
people that don't know who Adama is, because we do have a lot of people that this is all new information. So who is Adama?
Adam is the head priest in Telos for the Lemurians. He is in charge, as is the council. Their job isn't to govern anything, it's to help these people advance in their spiritual lives. That is the council's job. So he's in charge of that. There were 4 other females that flanked him as well. And so toward the end of this is when we all sat down. They pointed to a chair for me to sit down, and 3 of them sat on this side, and 3 of them sat on this side. And then each one of them took a turn and for a couple minutes explained, who they were and what they did. And I can't remember any of them other than Alex Adama and the very first one, Shiama, because from this point forward, she did most of the speaking. She was going to explain why I was there and why this was all happening when it happened then. She had informed me that the council had met, and this was, remember, July of 2020, right? In my mind, winter solstice this year is the day that the expectations for me, uninformed as they might have been, was the day that the shift was actually going to engage. Now, I didn't have any more frame of reference for it than that. This notion that Earth's vibration is rising, and it absolutely is. I can point to lots of scientific things for you to see it for yourself, lots of barometers for you to measure this. That's what really hooked me, is when I could pair science with this metaphysical stuff I was experiencing. Oh, wow, there's something to this, and others need to know it. So that's when this all kind of sunk in, and I just needed to know everything I needed to know about it.
Wow. Okay. So what else did they tell you? Did they tell you anything about what was happening on Earth at the time, or what was going to be coming to Earth following your visit?
No. They had just agreed that they saw that this time was imminent and that they were preparing and that they were looking forward to rejoining the surface. They have plenty of wonderful technologies to share with us once, we're in a position to receive it. And they have lots of regard for humans because we have a component inside of us that they've kind of grown out of. Their emotions are, they're not as, I don't want to say volatile, but I can't think of another word other than that. We just get excitable, but it's what makes humans humans. We like to make things better. Well, what could we do with their technologies and that spirit? That's what they're looking forward to. And so, one, they wanted people to know that, yes, in fact, we're real and we're here and we're looking forward to this. I had 2 questions when I left. One, can I tell anybody about this? And that's when they kind of laughed. Yes, we want you to tell everybody. And 2, can I come back? And the answer was yes, you can come back before the shift. Yeah. No.
And did they tell you why?
Other than that.
So what was the answer when you asked why you, Lowell, were there? Why were you there?
There were 3 things they pointed out. The first one was that they claimed that I could hold 5th dimensional consciousness. And I thought I could. From what I thought I knew, what I knew back then, I thought, yeah, of course I can. Well, I didn't know what I didn't know then. I can now, and I understand what that means. But yes, I did have the capability. Number 2, they said, we heard you're the protector of Gaia. Now, remember that ayahuasca journey I was telling you about?
Yep.
Yeah, Mother Ayahuasca called me that 2 years prior, and no one had ever heard that before. I'd never told the story about it. So how did they know? Well, they did. And then the third was that they were reaching and trying to help me understand my Lemurian roots, because I signed up to incarnate on this side to assist in the process, because that's what it was going to take. There needed to be more physical seedings here to help anchor what needs to be anchored for the shift to take place.
Okay, so a quick question that comes to mind is, do you have a future self in that space, which is the self that incarnated to be you now?
That's how I understand it. I know that sounds confusing, and to others that are listening to this, it will be. But when all of this multidimensional stuff had started to happen, and the idea that your future self was showing up, that's what I thought it was. I thought, well, this is me from the future, and I'm just
Right.
looking back at things. Well, that's partially right, but not
Okay.
entirely right.
I
But
mean, not
yes,
future, because as you know, there is no future, there is no past, everything's happening right now. So I
there's
get that.
multiple timelines
Yes.
all working out
Yeah.
simultaneously. And you wrap
Yeah.
your head around that, you can be in multiple places at the same time, which
Right.
I've been astral traveling like crazy since I got back to Santa Rosa.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, we'll have to talk about that some other time.
Another time. Yes, that's a whole another topic. And that's more a mechanism of being in the right setting. Because energetically, all those circumstances have to be right in order for you to feel like you can leave your body. And it's not that I hadn't done it before, but man, it seems to be a lot more regular now in the last couple weeks. And there
Wow.
was something unsettling that happened. So I'll share it with you. Um, I took the train back to California from Minnesota. I just wanted to take the train. And anyway, along the way, at night while we were sleeping, I turned to the right. I could tell the train was turning down a curve to the left. And all of a sudden, the room started to spin. Like those times when you've had way too much to drink and you can't control it anymore, like vertigo kicked in big time. So I had to lay on my back and close my eyes until the room would stop spinning. And it took a while for that to stop happening. Now, I didn't know what to equate it to. I had an idea because I lived in Denver for a while and I understood the nature of altitude sickness because I'd had it once while I went up to the top of Mount Evans one day. Oh, I see what this is like. You know, your head gets really dizzy. You just need to drink a lot of water. Just be mindful. You've just changed a bunch of elevation. And it wasn't like we weren't going through the Rockies on this train track. So there was something to that. But explain to me then why, when I got back to Santa Rosa, it happened again. And not just once, it happened a couple of times. And you know when it happened? It happened after those, when I would get up in the morning after these ideas of this astral travel. In my head, I come to understand it. My body is getting used to my soul or whatever traveled off. I'm getting used to the physicality again. And it gets harder and harder every time you go out to come back and readjust into this physicality.
Okay, that makes total sense. I know that I've
It
heard
does.
that paralysis, what's it called? Sleep paralysis is kind of the same thing.
It can be. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So,
Anyway, these are just, to me, these are the level ups. And here's where I'd love to talk about this with somebody else that might be having the same thing, because I'd love to hear somebody else's take on this too. I can't be the only one.
well, yeah, of course, absolutely. I mean, I can tell you, it's not happening to me. So,
Not yet.
but I think the body has been up leveling in certain areas. At least for me, I had to open my heart, and that happened this year when I went to a Joe Dispenza conference, and that definitely happened, which I think was the kind of the last thing that needed to happen. Um, and
But the most important.
yes, for sure, for sure.
Mhm.
So, so going back to the experience, because I don't want to lose, I'm very linear.
Me too.
So, I still have that engineering mind. So, going back to, so then once you were done with the experience, then what happened after that? So
Which experience are you talking about?
Too.
I'm sorry?
Because we've talked about this before too. So then you had started having other experiences.
Oh, yes. Well, then a year after, when I went back to Shasta, I had met a hybrid. Kumu is half human and half light body. I don't know how else to put it to anybody because I don't even know how to categorize it properly. But she showed up. She knew all about me. I knew nothing about her. She
Oh,
showed up
okay.
at a place I was supposed to be for the weekend, and she was just there when I arrived. She knew the host, had been there before, and so during the course of the afternoon, I got to meet her, and she always travels with an entourage. She's got a couple friends and usually 3 or 4 students that travel with her. Everybody was there that day. Plus there were probably another half dozen people that were there other than that. I knew nothing about her at all until we were all kind of looking at Andara crystals because that's where we were at Mickey's compound in the Santa Cruz Mountains at the time. And toward the end of the afternoon, she gets up and goes over to the corner of the deck, and there's a huge plant there, and she starts taking some pictures with her phone. Now, the entire afternoon, she has shown me photographs she's taken with her phone of extraordinary things that I wanted. Can I have that one? Can I have that? No, you can't have that one, but I'll have some you can have. So, and she calls me over. And she said, I want you to put your arms around the plant like this, and I'm going to give you this Eliom, and I want you to chant it. And I did that for about 30 seconds until I felt silly, and I could tell she was behind me. Well, when I stopped doing it because I felt silly, well, she was done doing with whatever she was doing. And we moved inside to the house so we could get out of the sun, and she could show me the pictures she'd just taken. She had a series of pictures with light beings in the plant and then them engaging with me. And then she left. Now, what the hell did that mean? None of us knew. So the next morning, about mid-morning, the phone rings and it's Kumu. Oh, she's coming back. And when she came back this time, she got there around noon. She brought Chinese takeout food for like 24 people and only one of her students. But she also brought some protective cases. And in those protective cases, she had artifacts she was going to show us. 3 of those were sacred pipes that were engraved with things that, according to her, were 30,000 years old. A couple other medallions, a couple other pieces that she wanted to show us. Then at the end of the day, the property is on a slope, and there's another level below where there had been placed a huge Andara spiral, huge, energetic like crazy. Well, she had gone down there around 5 o'clock and invited Mickey and I to come down, and she wanted us to stand in the middle, and she was going to photograph the phenomenon that took place, which she did. So there were crazy photos of light beings in the area and around me, and like light swoops. You can tell there's engagement taking place here. And then she leaves again. Now, the only thing I know is that she's going to be in Shasta in a couple weeks, and I will too. I had agreed to present at another conference that year, and it's at the end of August. So we're going to overlap our trips because I don't know anything about her. I only know what's happened over the last 2 days here, and I don't know what any of it means. What I could piece together afterwards is that whatever happened on Friday in that interaction must have been enough of a validation for those light beings to show up the next day, or she wouldn't have come back.
Yeah.
What was the point? took me a while to kind of figure out there was a pattern to that. So was this something that I had asked for myself and this was the timing was right? I don't know the answer to any of that. All I know is from that point on, I've had engagements with light beings that show up everywhere, different forms, but they're here.
Yes.
And again, I'm just supposed to hold that up as an example for the rest of you to see you can do this too.
Right. And that they're here, that they are here, that there
Well,
are
that's the most
around us.
important part.
Yeah, that
Absolutely.
they're around us. We just can't see them because they're vibrating so high, right? So imagine us, we're vibrating like this, and they're vibrating like this, right?
Yes. Yep.
So
That's a best way to put it, because if people can get their heads wrapped around that their body is a vibratory tool, you're an electromagnetic being, and that's why you connect to everything else the way that you do. You can raise and drop your frequency just like that. And in order to see things in those higher realms, you just have to vibrate at that higher level. But we can achieve it. Here, I'm here to show you I did. I got there. It means that your physical form can do it too.
absolutely, absolutely. But the key is for them to understand what it is to be high vibrational, because that's something that for sure we should talk about so that they know how to get there, because it's sometimes I think I'm vibrating really high, which is when all the synchronicities happen, when the magic appears. But it's what for me is staying in that vibration that is not necessarily an easy thing to do unless I'm meditating 24/7, right? So
Right.
yeah. So
That's exactly right. That whole meditative lifestyle, once it becomes a lifestyle and it's just part of who you are, whether you intentionally sat down to meditate, I'm beyond that place now. I can close my eyes and just achieve that state and drift wherever I wish to go now. And again, it just takes practice. But man, I've been on my own, really, for almost the last 6 years. And I can understand that most people don't take the time that I've taken to go deep into those places, because with family, friends, work, hobbies, when do you have time to do that? I extracted myself from all that because I was more curious about this. Because
yeah.
now I know this is the nature of the world that's coming, and we're just being shown before it gets here.
Well, you know that, Lowell, I went to a 10-day silent meditation retreat. It was a Vipassana 10-day silent meditation. They take your phone away. You can't talk to people that are there. You cannot look at them. You cannot have any outside of attention of any kind. Like 4 days into it, in the middle of my sleep, I started having a panic attack. The middle of my sleep, panic attack. And I'm like, how do you have a panic attack when you are sleeping? And it was almost like my body was like all the negative shit had left it, and the body's like confused, or I don't know how to explain it, because I myself don't really know why that happened. But after that happened and that cleared off, all the negative energy cleared off those 2 nights, it happened 2 nights in a row. Then I started having dreams about meditation, not meditation, levitation, or I started having like 5D dreams, like dreams of like a higher level vibration, which was amazing.
You were purging some kind of crap you need to get out of your system so that you can understand these more advanced things that you're being attuned to. That's exactly what's happening. And the more time you get to spend in those realms, the more you can really dig your feet in. This is the curiosities that I claim others are coming into, and they don't know what it is yet.
Yes.
I was content really for last year. Screw you guys. I got mine. Get your own. but that's not who I signed up to be. Like,
Yeah.
I asked to be given these gifts and see what I'm seeing in exchange to assist others to do the same. So I'm
Exactly.
on board. I want to see people succeed. I want them to have the experiences I've had. I want them to know that what's coming is benevolent and loving, and this whole law of one is played out where my right foot is, as opposed to where this crap is that we're still living in this world of duality, learning lessons and going through our soul journeys here. This is almost done. Earth is in a cosmic cycle. It's not that she was waiting for all the rest of us to kumbaya together so that we raise the global, footprint. She was on her own way anyway. We're just little critters crawling around, sentient critters, trying like hell to match her vibration. And it's hers that's rising right now. That's the explanation for all this seismic activity. And we know where it's coming from. We think it's coming from the sun, and it is. But man, that was perpetuated by the central sun. That photon belt that we found ourselves in the galaxies that scientists found is what is feeding this information. And so it hits the sun and then it just disperses to everything else in the solar system. Kids, this is why we're all waking to these ideas that we didn't have before. How fast has technology grown in just the last 50 years as opposed to the last 13,000? Holy cow. To me, this is really reminiscent of the stories of Atlantis and what happened right before. Oh my God. Technology got us here. And then through misuse, yeah, we kind of helped the earth skip back a couple steps. But that's no longer the case.
Yeah.
She's locked herself out of those lower frequencies, and there's no way for that to get in. So I'm on board.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's so interesting that you were saying how you kind of took off and went on your own. And I've noticed a difference since I've been back from the retreat. I've kind of gotten back to not the old way of doing things, because the dispensa thing really did make a difference in my life. So I see things a little bit more from the heart space. So it's been a lot easier, but there's still, in these Vipassana meditation retreats, they're free. I mean, people can go there and it's free. Okay. And you are fed. They're all over the world. So I highly suggest, go do what you can. 10 days is worth it. Is it hard? Yes, it is. For me, it wasn't, because I was already a meditator, but seeing how it's affected you, Lowell, and how you kind of took that further, you've taken that into another level.
Oh yeah. But you're right.
Yeah. It's got to be, guys, I'm serious. If you want to get to where Lowell is, you got to do something radical. And the Vipassana retreat will take you there for sure.
That's good. That's good to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm super interested in hearing how do I get there, Lowell? How do I get to, I'm already an experienced meditator. I meditate morning, I meditate evening
then you're doing everything you're supposed to do. And the rest of it will unfold. The key here is to getting yourself into that space, that, what they call it, the space between your thoughts, whatever that is. That's where you want to get. And when I started meditating the first day I achieved that feel like, holy cow, like this weight had come off of me. And man, I just feel calm. Now, I'm going to tell you what happened before the 4 days were over, because if you go through TM training, it's 4 consecutive days. The first day is 90 minutes, and that's an hour. You're in the room with some other people to help you understand when you go home and meditate. Oh, that's a different feeling than when I'm in the room with people. Different dynamic, but powerful. Anyway, after the second day of achieving this,
Gamma
whatever
state?
this level of whatever it
Yeah.
was, I used to carry what I thought was indigestion in my system that would pop up every now and then and irritate my system. What I found out that was a stress ball. And from that third day on, it's never been back. Now, as important as that is, I've had a history of high blood pressure. And you know what? Since I learned how to meditate, I don't have high blood pressure anymore and haven't since.
Yep.
I haven't been to a doctor or seen anybody and haven't needed to since the surgery in December of 2015. I wasn't suffered from any of the COVID stuff. Could have. I was certainly around people that were infected by it. Why not me? I didn't take the shots. Why was I protected from it? You got to think that once you achieve these higher levels of thinking and experiences, that comes with a certain amount of healing that you don't understand.
Well, I think that things like that don't exist in the fifth dimensional plane. So if you're vibing really high, not only can reptilians not see you because you vibrate out of their view, but you also vibrate out of the 3D virus and bacteria and like all that stuff. Or at least that's my opinion. That's what I think.
Mine too. We produce those things that make us sick. We make our minds tell us we have those things.
It's the mind.
And if you stop doing that, you're not introducing things. That whole thoughts are things, make that your mantra. If you haven't figured that out yet, the things that pass through your head are the things that come into your reality.
Yes.
Practice that for a week intentionally and see if I'm not right. And then live your life like that the rest of the way. I'm telling you, it'll be a lot smoother.
So what comes to mind, Lowell, have you seen the movie Source? It's Within You from Dr. Joe Dispenza. Have you seen that movie? He put it on Amazon.
I don't think I have.
Okay. In it, people are getting healed from cancer, from crazy shit on his conferences. Okay. So he started doing some research with he hired people from Harvard and from here and from there. And they came out with all this information. And in that video, a woman grew a thyroid from zero. They took it out and she grew a thyroid, and a man grew part of his colon. So this is the power of the mind, that we literally can grow anything.
That's in my mind, that's the metaphysical side of us that we have been ignoring. It's been dormant in every human being. And once you can tap into that, you'll find healing. You'll find the ways to do it yourself. It comes from inside of you. But I so resonate with that. I just can't tell you. I'm glad you said that.
And you would love it because it's about the power of meditation. Like literally, it shows when people meditate, he shows you the charts of the head of these people that were able to get in the gamma state. And the stuff that's in there, it's all scientific based. That's why I love it, because scientifically, he has proven that meditation literally changes your life. Like it changes your mind. It changes your physical. Oh, he said after his retreats, 100% of the people, like their GI tracts are healed. And what else did he say? Oh, people look younger. They started taking pictures of people before and after the retreat. They also look younger. So it's so powerful.
Yes.
To the mind and taking the mind and molding it and telling it what it's going to think about and not think about. Because when you think about in something, right, you give it power and you create it. So that's what happens with these viruses and all this stuff. If you give it attention, guess what? It's going to appear.
Yeah. That phrase, what you feed is what you get. So if you want to feed out negativity because you're pissed off about something and you want some retribution, guess what you're going to get back in return? That very thing. I've learned that when I ruled that out of my thinking, I don't draw those people into my field. That's not around me anywhere I go. I've come to expect it now. For a while, I used to pay attention to it just so I could see the differences. But man, it's just the way my life is right now. And it's not like the world is not in chaos. And I've been moving around the country a lot, so I see a lot of things and I'm engaging with a lot of people in different places. I have not had those lousy experiences
Right.
that we
Right.
see on the news.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. Because when you're vibrating, when you're in a different dimension, right? When you're vibrating at a different place, you're going to see things that other people don't see. So what I
Correct.
noticed is when we were a friend of mine and I were vibing really high. We were in Whole Foods and there was lines down each aisle. And then all of a sudden I see on the side that there was an open register and nobody's going to this register. And I'm looking at people pointing, like saying, hey, there's an open register. And literally they couldn't see me. They were like, and I'm like, okay, fine. Then I'm going to go and do the empty register. So I didn't have to make the line. So you see things that other people can't see because you are vibing in a different place.
That's exactly right. So how do we help people get there? I wish I could tell you I had a roadmap and a 1, 2, 3 way for you to do that. Just however you learn to meditate, TM worked for me, doesn't need to be TM. It's whatever gets you there. That is the key to accessing all of the things I've talked about, I get access to. Once you can achieve that state, you're most of the way there. Now it's all about your intent. So those things that you want to think about, do you want contact? I promise you, you will have it. What types of contact you want? Do you want contact with inner earth beings who are here waiting? You can have that. You want to have them with ETs? Because we've also had that. What do you think those blue orbs that are coming around, floating around are? We are in a space that we aren't really equipped to explain to anybody else, but it's wonderful. And I know it's where the earth is going. So I'm going to celebrate this while I can. And the rest of you, I hope that you pick up on it.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you say you were, gone for this year or so doing your thing, what is your thing? Like what does your daily day look like when you were out and about and doing all this traveling and doing all this, whatever you were doing?
Well, the last few years, I wasn't really outside that much. I was not hiking like I was. The first 4 years, I couldn't get outside and be outside enough. There were other things that I was doing. I was in Minnesota for like the last year, and there are times a year it's just not conducive to be outside. There is where I could tell there were some things that energetically just weren't right in that place for me. And it didn't allow me to get into that state. I just needed to make a change. I was there longer than I probably should have been. But that's when I got back to California. And now this little space I found is so quiet and peaceful, and I didn't expect it to be. That's when drifting off into these other places doing astral traveling was just so easy to do because the conditions were right. The year before I was in Minnesota, I was in Sedona for a little over a year, learning about Lemurian energies that were there. And did the light beings show up on the properties outside? Hell yes, they did. What taught me is that once you've established your connection with something higher than yourself like that, they find you. It's not you're going to Sedona to experience it. No, you're going to be in Sedona when they find you again, or you're going to be in Shasta when they find you again. Your vibration's unique. They can find you anywhere in the fucking galaxy if they need to. I always thought at the beginning, I went to sacred places to have sacred experiences. Well, that was true at the beginning. Later, I just enjoyed their company in those spaces, but I didn't have to go there to have it.
Beautiful. So who's having these same experiences is Octavia. So
Yes.
Octavia first saw these beings in Shasta, but now they're wherever she goes, that's where they are. She can literally almost get them to appear out of nowhere.
And she should look. She's come full circle. I
Yep.
met her when she just started talking about Pleiadians, because
Yes.
that's where I was in my journey.
Exactly.
And she and I have been connected since then. So it's great to see her finally come to that conclusion. But you really can't until that much time and experience passes. Now
Yeah.
you have a frame of reference. Oh, I had this. And I had that. Now I know what happens. I don't have to be in a particular place, and there they are.
Yes, absolutely. And she received a message when she was in Shasta that she needed to buy land so that she could have people come over and she could show them the beings that were these light beings that were showing up at night. So she has plenty of pictures. But that was the idea, was that she would be like the bridge between those beings and other people seeing them as well, not just her.
That's an important word, and I want you to embrace that. But I'm going to call you an ambassador. We are all being prepped to be ambassadors for them and the rest of our surface brothers and sisters who don't get it yet. We're going to be the ones that are going to bring some sense to all of this when the nut really cracks and people got questions that they don't have answers for. Dave Wallace, who I met along the way, and I used to have conversations about this, because Dave, after going somewhere else and then coming back, would have visitors in his space. And we kind of learned that these were like advanced teams from other civilizations. Look, they're coming to learn what Earth is like before they come to visit, so they can go back and tell their colleagues what to expect when they get here. We're all ambassadors that way. And I hope more people get on board, because they're going to be here sooner than we expect. And if there was one thing I could wish for all of humanity, is that you didn't frickin' freak out the first time you have your experience.
Right?
You're probably going to, because I did. But don't let fear get in the way. You're going to see extraordinary things and have extraordinary experiences you have not had before. Please don't let that deter you. There's stuff in there meant for you to see and experience, and man, it'll just be joyful.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, you also mentioned that there was these things you wanted to talk about. So what is this, what you wanted to discuss, the multidimensionality of?
Yes. Yeah. To me, that's more important. That revelation came after when Kumu took pictures of light beings, and I felt the presence, and there was a day, there was an exchange that took place. Oh my goodness. That's when I could put these things into perspective. Okay, Telos, light beings, multidimensional experiences. I didn't have a framework for any of that either. They were just all part of it. But man, if you stop to tell one story, it's like Gene Roddenberry wrote this episode.
Yeah, well, I know it's funny because you've been telling the Telos story for a while. So I understand why you're like, okay, I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about this. But I feel like this is the hook. This is when you're throwing out the cast and you're trying to get people to bite, I feel like that story is the story that brings them in. So then you can teach them to say, hey, you want to have this experience, then this is what you have to do to get there.
Yeah.
So don't like you don't want to censor it.
You're not the first one that said that. And I agree. I do agree. Look, Telos was a wonderful experience. But what I wanted, it's not likely you're going to experience this the same way I did. That's one of the reasons I don't want to really build your expectations up. I want to build your expectations up that you're going to have extraordinary experiences, not like mine, but you will have them. You're going to step into a different dimension. And based on whatever you experience there, you'll have those stories to come back and tell. If Shasta and Telos was one of the places you visit, it's damn likely you're going to come back and tell stories about Lemurian contact, because it'll happen. It's happening now. During each year I went back, remember when I told you at first I was seeking out energetic places? They just seem to be easier to find, and there are more of them now. Like they're not meant to be hidden anymore. And Shasta's just one place with that kind of sacred energy. There's lots of it everywhere.
Yes, absolutely. You know, it's interesting when when I was camping there with Octavia, we saw craft. Oh my gosh, I haven't told you this, Lowell. Okay, so I was camping with Octavia at the butt of the mountain, freezing our asses off. It was 30 degrees and we're in camp in freaking tents, okay? But during the night, while we were doing, like, we were playing the drum and we're, calling them over. And of course, they're up on top, just constantly going. And, you see them up and down. But I look into the mountain and I see this light on the mountain. And I'm thinking like, okay, that can't be a flashlight, because if it was a flashlight, I wouldn't see it. This would have to be a 10-foot light in order for me to see it from the bottom of the mountain to look like a flashlight up there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then Octavia tells me nobody saw it. I was the only one who saw it. So then in the middle of the night, Octavia gets up to go to the bathroom. And she said they were everywhere on the mountain. So I wanted to ask you if you ever experienced that or ever saw anything like that.
I have. I've seen it a couple times. And I do that because I like to stargaze. And I like to go up to the top of the mountain up there in Old Ski Bowl Trail, or as close as I can get to it, because there's zero light pollution up there.
Yes.
And I think it was like the third day I was in Shasta, I heard somebody talking about that place. And people went up there to stargaze. And I didn't know anything about it. I said, can anybody go? And they said, it's a parking lot. So after that, like 5 out of 7 nights, I'd be up there on the mountain watching the sky until either got too cold or I was just tired and I went back to my room. But it was incredible. The first few nights I was there was a new moon. So there was nothing getting in the way of the Milky Way in all of its glory until, a few days later. That's the first night I saw craft was the night of a full moon, because, now you can still see stars, but not the way that we could before. So I'm going to turn around and look at the mountain today instead. And that's when the first one I had looked for showed up.
But this one, so what I'm talking about though, Lowell, is on the mountain, not
above. I know what you're saying.
In the sky. Yeah. It's actually like if somebody was hiking in the middle of the mountain and there was this light there.
Yes.
That's what it looked like.
I know what you're saying. I gave you that frame of reference so I could kind of give you an idea where I was sitting. But looking at the mountain like that during those periods when nobody's awake, nobody's hiking around there, and you see lots of things that look like flashlights. Yeah.
They would have to be 10 feet high. Listen, to see it from where I was all the way up there, it would have to be a 10-foot light. It would have to be a huge light. It would, and Shanna, yes, we already talked about meeting the Telosian when we were behind the scenes before we started the show. I told him about our story that we met a Telosian.
But maybe next time you won't blow the poor guy off.
I know. Oh my God, that was so. That was Anyway.
Hey, you don't know what you don't know until the time comes. You went out looking for a Lemurian. They gave you what you asked for. You didn't recognize it as such at the time.
That's exactly what they said. They said, well, you wanted to meet us, so it just came out.
Yeah. That there's something special to that, because there are Lemurians that live in Shasta. When you see them, you know who they are, but they like to be sequestered. They're they don't really come out and do what they used to do. They used to engage until like the 40s. It was well known they would come in and trade and be
Oh,
active,
wow.
and then all of a sudden they weren't. Well,
Wow.
if you take a look at what changed on the globe in the 40s, we were given wisdom about atomic power. So
Yeah,
what did we
exactly.
do with it? We
Yeah.
decided we were going to show them what we would do and blow up parts of the planet.
Yeah.
So here, in my mind, is exactly where that hands-off policy for human beings from extraterrestrials, all of a sudden that was out the window, because they're not going to allow us to damage a cosmic asset that isn't ours, that we occupy for 80 years or so before we do. That's not going to happen again. And so that's when I learned that this influx of contact and reports about it all seemed to begin in the 40s and then grew. That's a whole nother kettle of fish, and things that the government knew and documented that you don't know that they knew, but I do.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. Absolutely. I did see a video of yours that you were explaining about something with Dave Wallace, and then the 3-letter agencies got involved. So I want to hear about that, but not right now. That should be another show. But
That's coming. There's something going on in the background, guys. Like, I want you to understand that not everyone that works in government capacities are outside of the ideas that we're having. That there are a few of them that have had their own experiences and are looking for their own answers. And when they started to listen to podcasts Dave and I were doing, we started to hear from them. They would reach out on WhatsApp until we found out that's probably not a good platform to use
yeah.
either. But anyway, this exchange has been going on now for almost 2 years, and there is a more concerted, unvarnished disclosure effort that's about to come out with experiencers, not whistleblowers, not government employees, because they know that you can't trot somebody out there from the White House or the Pentagon anymore and tell people what they know. We know you're not going to tell us the truth. So they're going to have to hear from some people that do.
Yes, and I keep hearing, and I don't know if this was from Octavia or someone else who channeled this, but basically they're saying, the ETs are saying the disclosure is you. You are the disclosure. Yes. It's not going to be your government. It's you. So, right. You know, it's time for us to speak up. I know there's a lot of people that are scared to talk about the experiences that they're having, but let me tell you, it's time. It's time to take these stories out there and really tell people what's been happening, because again, we are the disclosure.
We're way beyond whether ETs exist or not in the sky. Way beyond that. We are talking about contact that we've had with lots of multidimensional entities, and my news is that it seems to be growing. There are new people showing up that are having similar experiences. So this is catching on. That's why my attention all of a sudden got grabbed again a month ago, 6 weeks ago, whenever it was. It's time to step up again.
Yeah. So am I the first one to reach out to you, or am I like the somebody else reached out to you and then I came to you?
No, you're the first one in a while. And all this was meant to be timing. All of it. Yep. So I'm happy it was you. And I haven't talked to you for so long. It was really nice to at least catch up.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Just so many things have happened, and it's time. And I know you're going to hate telling your story again, but again, I'm telling you, it's very special, and it's the hook for people to go like, what? Inner Earth?
I really don't hate telling it, but I just get much more delight out of showing my interactions with light beings because I have photographs.
Yeah,
The
absolutely.
really
So
cool part about this is that we have learned that we hold technology in our hands that can capture multidimensional experiences. Kumu had so much of it, it blew me away. And so when she took these pictures, that day that we went in the house to look at them, and uh, I had asked her for some other ones earlier in the day, and she said she was going to send them to me later in the evening, and so I'd get them the next day. But she said these words: "These are for your portfolio." And I went, what the hell does that mean? Well, the day is going to come when you're going to tell your story, and your story is going to be different because you're going to have pictures.
yeah, exactly, because it gives you validity, right? There's going to be skeptics out there. And so it gives you validity also for people that are second guessing what they're seeing or what they're getting in their pictures, or, you validate that with having actual proof.
They
And
should question it all. Absolutely question it all of it. Um, the first pictures she took with her phone and sent to me, but the day that I had my interaction with them, she took my phone intelligently so that she would be able to say, or I would say, nobody. These have always been in my cloud from the day that they were taken. That Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock, here they were. Judge for yourself. Learn what's in these pictures, but there were so many of them, you can't really ignore it anymore.
yeah, absolutely. And I know that I had you on my show. Oh my God, I don't remember, 2, 3 years ago, and you showed us the pictures. So I would love to bring you back so that you can show people the pictures of this amazing experience. Have you had any others after that? Because I know we lost track of each other after that.
I astral travel all over the place now. I'm that energetic interest is still like really deep inside of me. So I actually started a project on Google Earth that I wanted to pinpoint all of the energetic places on the planet. So I started with the inner Earth cities that I knew about. Then I searched every third dimensional underground place on the planet I knew about. Then I took every temple, pyramid, and plotted those as energetic places. And then every place where there had been civilizations like Machu Picchu and Easter Island, man, the grid is peppered with this stuff. And all of it is. There was another category called golden tie allotments. And what I understood these areas to be is that they already vibrated at the higher frequency of new Earth. And these were places that people needed to know about. When I learned about them, I kept hearing about stories about people that were migrating to these areas for reasons they didn't understand. So I knew what was going on. They did not. It's just cool to see the globe from that perspective. When I look at the world now, I want to see it from off the surface. Like I want to see it from up here all the time now. That's how I put things into perspective.
Yeah, well, the good news is if you astral travel, you can do that anytime. So
I'm learning that now. It was a new concept to me. I had done it a few times before, not with any regularity, but all of a sudden, like in the last 2 weeks, this is like kicking on. Like if you choose this, you can take off in it. So stay tuned.
yeah, how exciting. That's exciting. Do you keep in touch with these Telos people, with Alex or Adama or?
There are so many others that I would love to go back and do that again. I would love to go back to Telos, but there are other places I'm really interested in.
No, but I mean, like if you sit down and meditate, can you reach out to them and talk to them, or do you have any connection like that? Like,
I haven't. I'm more interested in going and seeing The last one, not last night, but the night before, there's this energetic shroud on the earth that's like peeling. And I was sent to go witness this so I could see, yes, Lowell, it is in fact happening. This wasn't anything that you were told and isn't taking place. Here is the physicality of it. So it's almost like you can see this dimensional skin getting peeled off.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
So interesting. Wow. Do you keep in touch with Kumu at all?
I haven't since that day.
Okay. And
I
then
have her contact information. I think that she came and did what she was supposed to do. The
Right.
day that we met in Shasta for the first time, I asked her that. I said, the day that you took Mickey and I through ceremony, you really didn't ask for a consent. And I said, can you explain why? And she goes, well, I just had to. And that was the only answer she could give me. So I wondered whether this was something, did I put this into motion? Was this intent I had and she was going to come to play it out? I don't know that. All I know is that she came, made this exchange take place. I got whatever codes I was supposed to get out of it. And what she did say when she left is, I'm glad there's more than one me just doing this now.
Yeah. Wow. What does she look like? You said she was a hybrid. What did she look like?
She looks like a Hawaiian American. She's about my age and she looks like an elderly woman.
Okay. Okay. So there's no way to tell a hybrid necessarily, like easily.
No, not in that case. Now, there are people like, and she's not a hybrid, but people like Viviane Chalvet. Here's an example in my mind of somebody everybody needs to know about. Here is an Arcturian that's taken human form here to assist with this process. That's not the same, for sure, as a hybrid, but Kumu is not the only hybrid.
Right. Right. Yeah, for sure. That I know for a fact. Yeah, for sure. Okay. Is there anything else you want our listeners to know about or?
Is that question for me?
Yeah.
Not for me. I'm good. We can absolutely pick up on other things if you want to go deeper into some of these other topics later. We can. If you want to show pictures, I'm delighted to do that because in my mind, here, let me stimulate your senses with something else that you've never seen before, but you should get used to seeing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I definitely think we should have you back for pictures of the light beings. And also, didn't you do some AI pictures? Not AI pictures, because I know you don't use AI, but pictures of what you saw in Telos?
Yeah, they were whatever you want to call them. In my mind, when I got back to the parking lot the day I was in Telos, that's when I started to go, God, I wish I could take this off my head like a VR unit, put it on yours, and you could see what I could see. And in one of the podcasts I'd been invited to sit in, one of the host's sidekicks was a graphic artist. And Luis had used, trying to remember the program, Midjourney, to do some mock-ups of what he thought Telos and Inner Earth went. And when I saw the series he had produced, I went, holy shit, can I have that one? I thought he was going to be the guy that was going to help me tell the story through illustrations. No, he was going to point me toward the technology and Lowell, go learn how to use this. And then over like a week, thousands of those things just poured out. I wasn't responsible for what the keywords kicked out, but holy shit, did this look familiar to me? To me, these were all divine inspirations that were supposed to just pass through me, and they resonated with me. Let's see if they resonate with others. And apparently they did.
Yeah, beautiful. So definitely, I think we should bring you back to see those as well, because it would be great for people to see and have an idea of what that looks like.
They were fun. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, can we do the crystals next time?
We can absolutely do crystals. Oh my
You mean
God.
the Lemurian, not the Lemurian, the Andara?
Andara crystals? Yes, they're very special. I have a long history with them, um, because there are people out there that are perpetuating and selling Andara crystals that aren't authentic Andara
Oh my
crystals.
God, big time.
And
And
I was a
Mount
victim of that
Shasta?
the first time I went to look for one, and that's where my research came from.
Yeah.
I dug deep into that, so I'm happy to talk about that, Jeff.
Yep.
Yeah.
Next time.
Yeah.
Hey, brilliant. Oh,
You bet.
Yeah, I
Thanks,
have $100 fake one, $100 glass piece of glass.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But
Hey.
yeah, so absolutely, I would love to have you back, and I knew this would happen because every time we connect, we always have great conversation.
Well,
So
there was a reason that we did this. And so thank you for pulling me off the shelf again.
yeah,
I do like to share. I just wish it could happen faster and people could get to the things that I understand quicker. But I know that they're not. And that's not for me to say. They've got their own journeys. And I need to honor that if I expect they're going to honor mine. I just know what's coming, and it's awesome.
it is. It is. It's very exciting. Very, very exciting. So, yeah, let's help elevate as we can. You know, that's why we're here. So
I'm happy to help.
Yeah,
awesome.
come and tell us about what's going on in Australia.
I've got plenty of contacts in Australia that I've been watching the statistics from the stuff I had been doing, and I found people all over the planet were listening to podcasts or YouTube or had visited the website. I was kind of surprised. Now I knew I'd always been curious. When I got into IT, it was right at the inception of the World Wide Web. And so, of course, I understood everything there was about that. And when I wanted to track IP addresses and see where all this communication came from, man, the world is not as big a place as I thought it was. So to see that this information is reaching those places, wow, this isn't just domestic information anymore.
Right.
Yeah, it's global.
Mm-hmm.
Global. Anything else, Jeff, before we go?
No, we can have that private chat in the green room.
All right, excellent. Well, thank you, Lowell, for coming in such short notice. You really got me out of a bind, and I am so grateful about that. Thank you, everybody on the chat who participated, and thank you to everybody who's listening to us and sharing our knowledge so that we can, awaken more of the tribe, as many as we can. The more people we get to wake up, the faster we're going to go. So let's go. Thank you, everybody.
Oh, don't forget, you guys have gone off on daylight saving now, isn't it? So Australians have to be more aware that we're coming in an hour earlier.
Oh, yep.
Forgot about that. Okay.